We're going to the ballpark. We're going to the ballpark. We're going to the ballpark. Yes, we're going to the ballpark. And we'll be out till dark. Gonna have a good time. 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 Yes, we're gonna have a good time. We can even use a ball of mine. We'll be playing with our friends. 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 Yes, playing with our friends. And the night will never end. Lots of fun. Wearing my new cleats. Wearing my new cleats. Wearing my new cleats. Wearing my new cleats. Yes, wearing my new cleats. Drinking water to beat the heat. Wearing my cool hat. Wearing my cool hat. Wearing my cool hat. Wearing my cool hat. Yes, wearing my cool hat. And swinging my new bat. Gonna do the ballpark. We're going to the ballpark. We're going to the ballpark. Going to the ballpark. Yes, we're going to the ballpark. We'll be out till dark. Going to the ballpark. We'll be out till dark.
The Easy Outs were no doubt one of the best blues groups of the 1970s.
They were hip, they were cool, and oh, were they sexy.
You know, these guys, they summed up an entire generation, an entire culture, an entire movement.
It seemed like each album had built off the one before it, making each one more special than the last.
They really captured that classic blues sound that so many were missing.
At the time, the Easy Outs were one of the hottest blues bands and had reached peak popularity in the spring of 1972. As of early 1971, the Easy Outs skyrocketed onto the charts with their debut album, Batter Up. 2 tours and 1 album later, the Easy Outs were on their 1974 Pitch Across America tour, playing their latest album, Baltimore Chop, which saw them visit every major city in America, selling out whole venues every weekend. Made up of 4 Memphis City boys, the Easy Outs instantly became teen heartthrobs. They were the leaders of the band, Slim and Mick, who wrote all of the songs. Then there was their childhood friend, Paul, who grounded the group with his refined bass playing. And last but not least, Jimmy, who completed the Easy Outs quartet with a set of drums. Growing up, what these 4 city boys from Memphis didn't know was that one day they would become one of the most highly regarded blues bands of all time, but also that they would create an album that would set the tone for an entire decade.
The Easy Outs seemed to be everywhere. At their peak, they were in a different city every weekend, playing to thousands of screaming fans.
They had such an impact on their fans. If you were even lucky enough to see them one time in concert, you'd have a memory that would last a lifetime.
Man, they seemed almost unstoppable. It was like they had always done this. But of course, that wasn't the case.
The origins of the band come from a group called the Nutman Trio. This was a group that Mick and Paul had created with Mick's older brother during high school in 1965. Ironically, at the same time, Slim had his own band called the Ernies, which rivaled the Nutman Trio.
Of course, the kids all knew each other, so it was a friendly rivalry. Truthfully, without the rivalry between the two bands, the creation of the Easy Outs may have never happened.
Flash forward 3 years later, and Mick's older brother goes off to the Army, leaving the Nutman Trio in shambles. At this time, the Ernies had disbanded for a few months due to their main singer dropping out of school to become a hot dog salesman. Amazingly, Mick and Paul strike up a deal with Slim, thus creating the groundworks for the Easy Outs in April of 1968.
Memphis, 1969. Slim, Mick, and Paul have graduated high school and are playing gigs around town under the name The Rays. In June of '69, the Rays play a gig at the local fairgrounds where they would meet the famous producer, Rod Sterling.
Rod Sterling, better known as Big Rod, was one of the most successful managers and producers of all time.
Upon hearing about the Rays and seeing them play, Rod sees something in this raggedy trio. Rod speaks with them after the show and offers them a deal.
Next, Rod takes them into the studio and merges them with the already Memphis famous drummer, Jimmy Howard, a drum solo artist, and single-handedly created the Easy Outs.
By the end of the Pitch Across America tour in 1974, the Easy Outs were finished with touring. They had had enough.
They felt like they weren't playing well and like they weren't going anywhere artistically. They weren't fulfilled with themselves, and they felt like they had more to offer if they spent more time in the studio.
Big Rod. This is Nick. This is me. Paul.
Rod, how you been?
Been good. Jimmy.
How you doing, Rod?
Good. You got one of them ciggies for me?
No, sorry, man.
Okay, boys. The tapes are rolling. Go ahead and start playing. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
The song started to really roll out for the band after they relaxed and got back in the studio. Man, they were just cranking out one hit after the other.
The first track they really polished was a little number Mick put together after visiting his parents back in Memphis one weekend. After looking at old pictures of him and his Little League team, he put together the track My Coach Rides Me while on the train ride back.
My Coach Rides Me, take 1.
My coach, he rides me all game long. My coach, he rides me all game long. And And after each old game, I sing the same sad song.
The song was awful.
The next track was by Slim. The song was deep and thoughtful, and just like what Mick did with his song, Slim dove deep into his childhood for inspiration. What's even greater is that this constant battle between Slim and Mick to create great songs was what really drove the band forward.
Ready? Okay.
Was gonna give me a toy. Instead he met a woman. It was oh so coy. My bat left me. Ain't never coming back.
My Bat Left Me is a tough song to listen to once you realize that it's about Slim's father abandoning his family when he was just a small child.
Okay. Let's do that again.
The band took further strides when Paul crafted his first song, My Mick Don't Fit No More, which really highlighted his struggles with growing up and dealing with fame.
My Mitt Don't Fit No More really helped Paul shine creatively and lyrically. It was one of the biggest hits they ever had.
My Mitt Don't Fit No More is by far one of the best tracks on the album. I absolutely love it.
My mitt don't fit. 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 My mitt don't fit no more, baby. I just can't quit.
As time progressed in the studio, the album was really coming together, with lots of great songs by both Slim and Mick, along with a few contributions from Paul, and one track that was a collaboration between Jimmy and Paul.
Along with My Coach Rides Me, My Bat Left Me, and My Mitt Don't Fit No More, the album also had such great classics as Umpire's Girl.
There was Diamond Lights, Dugout Blues,
And of course, the unforgettable anti-war song, Not My Diamond, Not My War.
Not my diamond, not my wall, take 12.
Not my diamond, not my wall, not my game, baby. What the hell are we fighting for?
Alright, I think that sounded pretty good.
The real trouble began when Slim and Mick began arguing over which one of their songs would make it as the last song on the album. Slim had written the beginning of a song called Home Run, and Mick had written what seemed to be the middle of a song he called Base Runner Derby.
Of course, both of them wanted their song to be the last one on the album. Their relationship was so competitive that something like this was bound to happen eventually. The problem was, neither song was complete.
Things really heated up when they got into an argument about it, and Slim stormed out of the studio. It seemed like things were falling apart at the very last second, when collaboration between the two was needed the most. Unbeknownst to them, this was now the least of the problems.
Breaking news from the music world. Producer and manager of the Easy Outs, Rod Sterling, has died in an automobile accident. Tragically, the producer Rod Sterling was pronounced dead last night upon arrival at the local hospital.
On December 14, 1974, Rod Sterling was the victim of an automobile accident on the outskirts of Bloomington, Indiana, just miles from the recording studio. The death of the band's manager and producer sent shockwaves around the country, and through the hearts of the Easy Outs themselves. Upon hearing the news, the band ceased production of their latest album, unsure of what to do next.
Oh, excuse me, what do you have to say about the death of Rod Sterling?
Well, we're just trying to keep him and his family in our thoughts. It's a shame what happened.
Well, what's the next step for the Easy Outs?
Well, we're just gonna have to keep recording, aren't we? It's a damn shame what happened to Rod, but we're just gonna keep trucking.
Do you have any comment of what Slim and Mick had to say about this?
I don't believe so.
Slim and Mick did not see each other for weeks while the band takes a vacation from the studio, and from each other. Sterling is dead, and the band is unsure how to finish the album without him. After a month of vacations and spending the holidays with their families, the band rejoins and continues work on the album in January 1975. The band begins work on finalizing the album, and a few months later, one final song, a combination of both Slim and Mick's unfinished works. The band spends 1 week in the studio working on the song, and when they're done, the song and album is finished. The song credit goes to the entire band and is titled Home Run Derby. Upon release, the Easy Outs' greatest and final album, The Final Inning, reaches #1 in the Billboard 200 in May 1975. Highly regarded and critically acclaimed, The Final Inning is seen as one of the greatest and most influential blues albums of all time. In all, the Easy Outs captured the hearts and minds of the people and seemingly created a soundtrack for an entire decade.
The Final Inning was just the quintessential blues album of the 1970s.
So many artists tried to achieve that sound, but simply could not.
Everyone could listen to that album. It seemed like it was made for anyone and everyone. It was incredible.
The Final Inning was a perfect send-off for an amazing band. You could not have asked for any better of an ending to a story like that.
Home run, ballpark, Mendoza, till dark. Home run, ballpark, in a pickle with Mark. Home run, ballpark, we gonna have us a home run derby. Home run derby. Home run derby. Home run, ballpark, look at dog, he bark. Home run, ballpark, beef jerky, Denmark. Home run, ballpark, we gonna have us a home run derby. Home run derby. Home run derby.
That's it.